Well, welcome everybody. Today it is again my honor to welcome you to Talk with Doc. Today we are going to have a very fun topic on how to have fun with disability ministry for you as the disability ministry leader. Something that we forget about a lot as we're doing it. And honored to have my host, my guest today is Amy Kendall. From San Diego, from Saddleback Church. Amy, correct me.
We're not in San Diego, though. We're in Orange County. It's close.
It's close. You're just around. Why don't you fix me, correct everything, and tell us all about you, since I'm doing a miserable job of that.
No, it's all good. I'm from actually our Lake Forest campus. Well, I actually oversee all our campuses now. So we are in Orange County, but we do have campuses in San Diego, LA, and also we have 4 international as well. And I'm our disability minister for all the campuses and have been now for over 13 years.
Yeah. And Amy is also going to be helping us out with our Wonderfully Made conference. She's been a speaker in the past for us as well. So just has a wealth of information, and we love having you today. So let's dive right in. And again, just want to welcome everyone that's watching either on Zoom or on Facebook Live. If you got any questions, if you're on the webinar, you can go ahead, put your questions either in the chat or the Q&A. And if you got any questions, if you're watching on Facebook Live, you can put it in the comments section, and we'll be getting those for you. So let's just kind of get right into it. What are ways, how can we make disability ministry fun?
Well, when I kind of looked into this a couple years ago, I really like to have something that encompasses the start. And so I ran into a quote by Dean Smith, who was a basketball coach. Most people know who he is. And he had 4 things, and I love it. And he said, play hard, play together, play smart, and have fun. And I thought those are such great things because it's in ministry. We all know ministry is hard, and especially in these times, they're even harder than they've ever been. We all are trying to find ways to make ministry different and exciting, and still meeting the needs of our families when we can't always tangibly be there. And so it's just hard. But the reality is kids, especially if we're working with kids and even young adults, they want to have fun. I mean, who doesn't? I want to have fun, and I would consider myself in the second half of life. And so finding ways that we can do things, but at the same time, looking at how can we play hard, how can we play together, and how can we play smart so we are having fun.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a good. And I think so many times as a disability ministry leader, we're so busy planning ministry on the weekends, getting things ready to go, making sure we got the volunteers, making sure we've got families there, we're meeting everybody's needs. We just flat out forget about having fun. We're trying to make sure everyone else has fun, but sometimes we forget it. And so I think that and that's why I love how you remind us to do that, and I think that's why it's so important. I want to make sure we talked about that today, to make sure we're doing that. So let's dive into each of those. Let's hit that play hard. What are ways that we can play hard?
Some of the things are set goals. I think so often we forget about that. At Saddleback, we are so intentional about that. So once a year, we sit down and we write out goals, physical, mental, spiritual, relational, educational, and just setting goals that have milestones that are meetable and have someone who's going to hold you accountable to them. It's one thing, and it's important to dream. And when you dream big. I always say dream audacious dreams. It's really easy to dream like, oh, I pray that we get 5 more kids in our ministry. That's not audacious. And our God isn't that small. And dream audacious goals. You know what? We're going to have 100 new kids or whatever it is. And even if we don't always make it, we know that we're working hard to get that goal. And God's using us. And so doing things like that. Also, be a good manager of your time. It's really hard. I'll be really honest. During these times, it's hard to manage our times properly, especially for some of us who are parents and we have kids running around trying to do distance learning, and they're sick and tired of being here in their home, and they want to get out and be with their friends and do these things, but still figure out how to be a good manager of your time so that you're being effective. One of the other things I also talk about is not putting your self-esteem into your ideas. I can think all of us have gone to a brainstorming session, or even gone and, nowadays going to a Zoom and like, oh, you have this great idea and you're like pitching it to your pastor or pitching it to your children's team, whatever. And the majority is like, yeah, that's not going to work. And we get our hearts broken because we think, oh, but it was the greatest idea. And so remembering that, what we say here at Saddleback is the best idea wins. And sometimes our ideas aren't the best, even though we want to. And also the last thing I always talk about is build a group of people that you can be creative with. Sometimes ministry is lonely. We do it by ourselves. There's not a lot of people like us usually on our team who do disability ministry, so we're a little different. But build a group of people, whether it be from different states. I'm really fortunate. I love that there's people all around the country that I know at any time I could call and say, like, what about this? And what are you doing? And how could I do this? But build a group of people that you can be creative with and dream with, and that can push you and mold you to be who God's created you to be.
Yeah, that's cool. Why don't we kind of look at a couple of those different ones and maybe unpack those just a little bit further before we move on to some of your other points there. I love especially that last one, build a team of people for you. I think while we all want to build one, we need to realize we can't do ministry by ourselves. And it's one of the things I've always said to our team. The best leader tries to replace themselves. You're out there constantly trying to find someone who can take over for you. Not that you're not going to do the work, but we need to just be in that mindset and find. So some leaders are out there and they say, you know what, it's so hard to find leadership or find people to help. How do you go about building that team of people to help you win?
I think the best way to see if your ministry is succeeding is be able to leave for the weekend and have it run without you. To be able to truly, if I can leave and be gone for a weekend and it totally runs seamlessly, then I've really actually been a great leader. It doesn't mean that you're not needed. It means that you've led well. And so, I think is being open to who God's going to bring into your midst. I think as humans, we can be prideful and think like, no, I'm going to do it best. No one can do it like me. God's put me in this leadership position. But some of my best leaders have been people that I initially thought like, oh, goodness gracious, this may not be a good fit. And then they come in, and allowing them to shine in how God created them has been amazing. And so I try not to put on Amy goggles when I have someone who's interested in serving, or even meet somebody and I think like, wow, sometimes my 75-year-old grandma is just as effective as my 30-year-old strong man. You never know, because there may be that one child who really is effective. And so when it comes to building that team to be creative and to work well with, is I really try not to pigeonhole people and see who they are, but allow myself to put on God goggles and see them. And sometimes the greatest people, especially our student leaders, man, they're amazing. I'm always in awe of our student leaders.
Amen.
I find that they usually are better than my adult leaders. They don't have a lot of overcommitment sometimes, and they're closer in age to a lot of our kids that we're ministering to. And sometimes their ideas are better than mine. And so, again, just being open to what the people that you're working with, the input they can have. It's really putting your pride in your back pocket on a daily basis, and giving credit where credit's due.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love the comment you said there, putting on your God goggles. I can't say that too fast there. You know, but that's so true. As we're going through all that, the other one point I want to hit on, and then we'll move on, is your point on think big and dream big. And oh my gosh, you know, that's so important. I think so many leaders get bogged down on doing ministry that they forget to dream. And oh my gosh, we have to dream. And you know, when I started SOAR, for instance, I went out, I did, and you know me, I'm a planner, and I'm a dreamer. So I did my 2-month, 6-month, 1 year, 2 year, 5 year, 10-year goals. But those goals were also dreams, and God blessed us. We reached our, you know, all of our 10-year goals within 18 months. And then I read an amazing book. It's called Circle Maker by Mark Batterson. And if anyone out here hasn't read it, I can't suggest that anymore. Mark Batterson, Circle Maker. It actually was a difference maker for me. And he talks about these big, hairy, audacious dreams, and have these dreams where you know it's from God, and there's no way you can reach that on your own. And so that's where a lot of my new dreams came from, including SOAR becoming its own nonprofit, which I thought, oh, there's no way that could happen. Guess what? Today, SOAR is its own nonprofit, and that's because of God working through it. But you've got to be able to dream these big dreams and include a team to be able to pray about it and be included in that. And it's so cool to see that happen, and include others, welcome others to be part of your dream, and to add into that dream, because they may put, you know, God may lay a huge dream on someone else's heart on your team that can help your ministry do amazing things.
You know, and I think on the flip side also, Doc, is there are people, like, I know for me, at Saddleback, we don't have an adult ministry. It has been something that I've desired for probably the last 8 to 10 years, probably more than that. And it's my big dream, and it's not happening. And, but I have to, like, I'll be honest, at first it rocked me, because you think like, well, you're going to be doing these great things. But then I had to just keep reminding myself that God was in control, and that we serve a big God, and he was going to start it when he was supposed to start it. And, you know, just recently now I oversee our college and our high school, and so in junior high. So he's doing it, but it's definitely his timing. And so try not to, when you set those audacious goals and they don't happen, you know, and some of my goals did happen way sooner than I thought, but some I still keep putting on there. And every year I just like, okay, I'm going to keep doing it. So don't get discouraged when God says wait. I think, as you know, I think we always hear that God says no and God says yes, but we forget that God says wait sometimes. And so just keep being, keep going at it, and know that God's going to meet you right where you're at eventually.
Yeah, that's so good. All right, before we go on, we got a question that I want to bring in here. And the question was, what do you recommend or go about delegating tasks and roles to youth volunteers? We were both talking about how valuable youth are with that. So how do you go about delegating tasks and roles to the youth?
You know what? As a whole, anything is open to our youth. The only thing I don't as a whole have them engage with our families when it comes to a situation that's arisen. So if we've had an opportunity arise where maybe a child has hurt somebody, hurt themselves, I always make sure it's a staff member or one of my key leaders. I don't have our youth engage in those, those pertinent questions and situations. But otherwise, I have them do everything. The only other situation would be is if it's, like if it was truly age appropriate. If it was something like, we don't have them, of course, none of our volunteers are alone with our kids. None of our youth volunteers do any diapering or toiletry. They have to be 18. But otherwise, if it's something that needs to be done, let them try. What's the worst thing that happens? They fail. And then we have to look at, maybe that's not, maybe we chose the wrong task. But otherwise, I delegate everything and anything to our youth volunteers, except for those key things I brought up. So hopefully that answered the question. How about for
Yeah, yeah, agree. Same way. But we've taken it even a step further, because I want to empower our youth because they are so amazing. I can't, even begin to explain the power of youth. And so we actually started a youth apprenticeship, where we take students. I usually would take a student from each year, from middle school through high school. So would have about 6 students total, where we would meet on a monthly basis and we would pour leadership into these students and then watch them grow and then train them on how to work with individuals with special needs. And then every month they would have specific roles they needed to do on the weekend. And what was so cool, as we've done that student apprentice team is now run completely by students. And it's amazing. They recruit more students. In fact, one of my last directors of that team, she could run the entire weekend for us. She could handle everything. She did for our camp. She handled all of the volunteers and just did a ton of work. And it was like having a full-time person, with the amount of work she was able to do. She was just so amazing. But that's, harnessing that power of students. And when they're excited, when you get students who are excited and love doing it, guess what? They tap into their friend group. And then you get that entire friend group to serve. So that's what's so cool to do it. So if you can, really pour into them, give them leadership and do that, if you can find certain students who have a heart for individuals with special needs, that's where you can really see this harness and grow. But I agree completely. We give, every task. There's pretty much not much we won't allow a student to do. And we encourage them to serve in every area.
We did something a little similar in the sense that, Saddleback is a little bit of a larger church. And I actually had, when they came in and volunteered in our ministry, I partnered them with an adult volunteer and had that adult volunteer also kind of leading them within the classroom. And actually, you saw these relationships build where I couldn't go to, 12 soccer games that were going on at different high schools, but these adult leaders that had partnered with them. And it was kind of a little bit of a secretive thing where it wasn't like you're with you and you with you, but like, hey, could you just keep an eye on this student leader? And it was really neat to watch these relationships build, because we know so many of our student leaders sometimes don't have the family support that they'd like. I mean, we're a broken, we're Christians, we're broken. And so it was really neat. Some of these, these adult males who were taking in these young adult or young teenage boys, because we always same sex, and really encouraging. It was just neat to see the relationships that were built. And it was kind of like you were doing student ministry without doing student ministry.
Right. Yeah. Well, why don't we go ahead and dive into the next one? If I remember right, it was play together. Why don't you unpack that for us?
This is probably one of my favorite ones, being especially during these times is, we're not together. We all, look at us, we're in our little offices and, we're not for us, we're not in the buildings. And so connecting with other people who do disability ministry. If you haven't connected on Facebook with a lot of us, that's such a great way. I know that there's people all throughout the United States and even in my area where I can reach out and, Orange County is a pretty large county where we live, and we have a group that meets every couple months for those of us doing disability ministry or have a desire. And we just get together and we encourage each other, lift each other up. And so it's probably one of my favorite things. Stay connected through social media. Again, as much as I don't have any of my friends on my Facebook, all I do is I do it to talk to people who do disability ministry. So I have very few friends. That's because my friends on there are only people who do disability ministry. And so stay in contact with them. Also meet with other leaders in your church. I think so often we kind of put blinders on that this is our ministry, but I recently have been able to engage now with where we at with some people who do different things, and it's amazing how you can partner. Meet with your traffic ministry, meet with your food pantry, meet with your singles ministry, and just building those relationships opens doors to people who maybe didn't know you exist. We often call each other, sorry, Doc, the redheaded stepchild of the church times. Or we say we're the party boat, like here's our church and we're the party boat that gets to circle around and come in whenever we want and we're having a great time. But, meeting with those different people. Also, the other thing is create fun activities and fun things to do with your families. I think as ministry people, we tend to also be a little bit on the education side, and we want to do things that are, educational and what are we teaching our kids and how, but just create fun activities, have a picnic, go to a bounce house place. We have a strawberry farm that has strawberry fields, and we go on a tour of the farm and go pick strawberries, and just create fun activities where you're just being together and having fun together. And lastly, one of the things is, I think it's really easy for us to always share the wins. Oh, my child did this. Oh, we're able to do this, like that. But also be willing to share the sorrows. Be able to do both. So often, again, our families sometimes come in and like, especially now, our families are struggling. But there's also some really neat stories. One of the things we did, like everybody else, we did a drive-through. We created a summer program called Yes You Can for our kids, and they came through and did a drive-through and got all the activities. And I had one family that I hadn't seen in months and months. They maybe came to church. They were kind of like the Poinsettia and Lily families that only came Easter and Christmas. And when their son came, he struggled because we never saw him. And mom shared that this has actually been the best time for them for church, because they're actually getting to watch church online, and he can do church from home. And so the things that he was never able to do before, he's able to do now. And so being able to, I think when we change things up, sometimes we're learning a lot more. I know I've learned a lot more through this pandemic than I haven't learned in how to do ministry well.
Right. Yeah, great points. First, want to touch on hooking up with other people in ministry. Oh my gosh, so important there. And you may have said, I might have missed it though. Especially on social media, I want to send a shout out and encourage everyone to make sure they go and find on Facebook, at least, the Special Needs and Disability Ministry Leaders Forum. That's monitored by Key Ministry. That's a great place to go. There's literally thousands of leaders that are on that. It's free. You can be on there. Share, post, find out things that are going on. You mentioned you've got a network you're doing. Several states have different networks now. That's becoming more popular. We host one. We host the Kansas City Special Needs Ministry Network. It's now gone virtual. So, what's nice with that, if you're in other states and you may not have that, you're more than welcome to join us. Just contact us here at SOAR, and we'd love to have you. We meet the fourth Thursday of every month. Even months, we meet from 12:30 to 2:30 Central Time, and odd months, we meet 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. Central Time. That way, if someone's working, they can still be a part of it. But make sure you get in so that you can talk with other leaders and grow from them. Learn what's going on. One of the things I'm going to throw out right now too, and let people think, and Amy's going to be one of my hosts for the Wonderfully Made conference. One of my talks for the conference is going to be a disability ministry virtual tour. Amy's going to give us a tour of Saddleback and everything they do. But as I've been preparing for this for Wonderfully Made conference, I've been thinking, how awesome would it be to have a resource like this for every church to be able to see? So SOAR is going to be creating a virtual disability ministry directory. So any church that's out there, if you're interested in doing that, it's free. You can create a 5-minute video of your disability ministry, but it does 3 things. It helps inform your families what's there, maybe help drive more new families there. It helps volunteers in your area see what you have, drive them there. And then it helps other disability ministries throughout the country see what you do and learn from that. And so those are great things to do there. But the one that you really said that I think so many people forget about as leaders is meet with other leaders in your church. Oh my gosh, that's huge. the entire church, every ministry needs to be looking through the glasses of a family with disabilities. And they don't do that. But that's the role of the special needs, the disability ministry leader, to be able to do that and bring that attention there. Can you just share some of the ways you've done that with some of the leaders in your church?
Well, we're a big church, so that definitely is, is hard. But I know even like sometimes even our support groups. I think our support groups forget about. You may even have someone who has a support group that's designed for something that would, I met recently with our ADHD, the guy who runs our ADHD group, and he had some amazing ideas of how we could partner together. And you think like, well, I'm already serving that kind of, but no, he had some great ideas and things that sort like he's a doctor also. And so he had a scholarship to bring in some families, and he wanted to do it for the families of the church.
Awesome.
Come in and do some special, research and work with individuals with ADHD, and free because he got a grant. And it was just those things you forget about. And the other thing is, I think sometimes we're so intent on serving our families that we forget to empower our families to go out and serve. And meeting with different ministries, saying like, hey, meeting with our greeters, the first touch people, and saying, hey, can we take a weekend where we, that we're our families are the ones greeting people as they come in. How great to all of a sudden have, instead of being that ministry that a lot of people don't know about, that they're being touched every single person who comes into our church building of someone who maybe is a little different than them. And then they're like, wow, I haven't seen these people before. What is it? And then finding out about it. And so, sports ministry, reaching out to someone in the sports ministry and talking about like, hey, have you ever thought about having an adaptive, soccer group, or having an adaptive basketball team, and doing something a little different. But at the same time, don't go in with, how can I get my agenda met? I think so often when we meet with people from other ministries, we go in and we think like, I have this idea and I'm going to push it. But instead going in and saying, hey, what are you guys doing? Like, share with me what, and coming forth and wanting to know more about them than knowing more about you.
Right. Oh, that's great. That's gold there. And then the last one I just want to touch on, especially for today's, you were saying create fun times for the families in your church. And at the same time, make sure you're having fun with the families as well. So many times we get so involved in planning the events and making sure everything's going well that we completely forget to interact and do everything. So, I think that's one of the most important things. And for me, what I always try to do, all my work is ahead of time. So that once the event comes, I make sure I have other people running everything. So I'm not responsible for anything during the event. Why? I want to be having fun with the families. I want to be having fun with the kids, so I can be interacting with them. So I can be having fun, helping them have fun and see the fun with them, to enjoy that with them. And so that's something I want to encourage there. And it goes back to the point you said earlier, letting people, your ministry is going well if it runs without you. Well, there's no reason you have to oversee every single aspect of the event. So, I don't know if there's anything else you want to put there, but I think that's so important, is make sure we have fun when we're creating fun.
Yeah, the worst part is when you have an event and you're more exhausted after the fact than you are, going in. And so you should leave feeling joyful and excited, not exhausted and like, ugh, don't want to ever do that again. So that's a great thing to say.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's go ahead. Your third point, if I remember right, you said was play smart. What do you mean by playing smart?
Some of the things for me, playing smart is one, and the most major one is keep a Sabbath. Ministry is not made to be done 24/7. We are not 7-Eleven, or we're not Circle K, or whatever convenience store you have in your area. We close, and God intended it that way. He created the world that way. And so keeping a Sabbath, having that day, whatever day, it doesn't have to be, of course, it's never going to be Sunday. We do ministry, but having that day that you completely shut down, you don't answer your phone, you don't answer emails, you don't reach out to anybody, and you completely keep it free. And I can't stress that enough. We are in a world right now where so many of us are mentally exhausted. And so if we can find that day to turn off, it's great if it can be with family, but being that we tend to work on the weekends, it's hard. But, making that time, I have someone I work with, she has Monday off, and she goes to the beach every single Monday, rain or shine, and she goes down and just walks on the beach, and she takes her dogs, and she tunes out. And it's so easy to have our phone, especially our phone usually has our work emails, but being able just to like, nope, I don't care that it's at 72 emails. They'll still be there tomorrow. The other thing is setting healthy boundaries. People in ministry tend to be people pleasers. I am one of them. So when people, come to you and have things you want to say, sure, I'll figure it out. I'll help you. But setting healthy boundaries where it's okay to say, right now is a season where I really need to be a little more conscious of my family, of whatever's going on, and say, you know what, I'm not able to, I can give you a couple ideas, but I'm not able to take that over for you. I'm not able, whatever it is, but setting those healthy boundaries. One of the other things is have a mentor. Have somebody who that you can go to, who is going to encourage you, is going to tell you right from wrong, is able to say, yeah, Amy, no, that is not okay. But have someone in your life who you would see as a mentor. And on the flip side, be a mentor. Be someone that can encourage. Doc, you being around for so long, and myself, unfortunately, being around for so long, I feel very blessed to have some people that I'm able to, meet with on a regular basis. But the thing I love about it is sometimes there are people that are newer in ministry. I learned so much from them. They have some great ideas and great thoughts. And being that, again, like I said, I'm on the second half of my journey, and being a little older, they encourage me, and like I get that recharge from them, from some of their energy. And so both be a mentor and and have a mentor. Other things are share your story with others. Be willing to be, not encumbered to share what's going on, what's happening, your goods and your bads. I find that most of us will all say we've learned from our struggles, not from our joys. We usually, those struggles are the things that make us who we are. My family, I have a son with disabilities, and one of our taglines is we say our weakness is our witness. And so our struggles are definitely who we are. And so remembering those things. Another thing is remember that it's quality, not quantity. I think so often the church is about numbers, and we're supposed to be about numbers. I mean, we can't have two people and be like, oh, we're doing so great, but it's really about quality. So sometimes we've created these amazing events and have so few people come, and you think, oh man, but those few people that came, it's just what they needed. And so really looking at quality. And lastly, enlist others to help. Again, sometimes people pleasers don't want to say, help, I need help. And I just read this really great devotional, a short devotional that was about weakness and having strength and weakness. And it was written by a man who had CP in a wheelchair. And he was talking about how when as he was growing up, people would say like, oh, can I open the door for you? And he was like, no, I got it. And can I help you across the street? No, I got it. And he would always say no. And he likened it to the paralyzed man who his friends dug the hole through the roof to get him in. And imagine if the paralyzed man had said, no, I don't need help.
Right.
I got it. I'll get to Jesus. And it was crowds. There's no way he could have got to Jesus. And I needed to hear that, because I think so often as a people pleaser, we tend not to say, could you help me? Or can I have help? And so it was a great reminder for me, especially when people offer, to say, yes, I would love that. because at the same time also, I don't want to rob people of their blessings. I don't want my blessings robbed. Why would I want to rob theirs? And so allow other people to be blessed by helping you, and to say, sure, I'd love help.
Yeah, that is so good. So going into, kind of combining the first couple you said, keeping the Sabbath, or keeping a Sabbath, and having healthy boundaries. Yeah, I think those are both huge. I'll be the first to admit, and anyone that knows me, those are both two very, very hard things for me. And it's just my nature. I'm, my background, I'm a workaholic. And so, and part of it is not that I feel like I have to. I love what I do. Yeah. And I just love what I do. It's part of my background as a doctor, that you learn that's ingrained, but I truly love what I'm doing. But there's no question, we need to put in a time where, it's just us. We need to be able to give to our family, with that. And then with the healthy boundaries, it's absolutely okay to say no. And we need to learn that. And we need to say that. We need to be able to say no sometimes to families. We need to say no to volunteers. And we need to say no in ministry, to staff sometimes even, when it, we know that's just not the right time. So really evaluate and think through all that. But also, love the points that you said about having a mentor and being a mentor. I can't agree more with that, and that's huge. And as you know, I've mentored many. I'm excited. I see several on the talk here today who I've mentored or currently am mentoring now as well, which I love. But it's one of the things as a mentor is, as you're talking through that, let them know and you can't hint at, it's okay to fail. And there's no problem with that.
You should fail.
You need to.
You need to fail.
That's how you learn.
If you don't fail, then you're not doing it right.
Right. I've failed many times. And there's nothing wrong with that. That doesn't mean I'm a bad person. That doesn't mean I don't know how to do disability ministry. It's okay. And so I've got an intern who's working with me. And one of the very first things I told her was, I give you 100% permission to fail. I give you permission to try something and to allow it to fail. Why? Because we need to be willing to take risks sometimes, healthy risks, not bad risks, but healthy risks to try something. And if it works, great. But if it fails, we learn and we move on. And I think sometimes as disability ministry leaders, we're so afraid to fail that we might let down a family, we might let down a volunteer, that we're unwilling to take a risk to try to do something. And so that's my challenge to everyone out there. I'm giving you permission. Amy's giving you permission. It's okay to fail. You need to fail because we have to take risks. We have to get better. And sometimes you're not going to fail. You're going to do well. And even when you think you're going to fail, it's amazing how God brings others around you to help it grow and do even better.
One of our greatest unsuccessful things, and this is going to sound so strange, is when I first started doing disability ministry, everyone has, respite. Oh, we need to have respite. Respite is so important. So we started this amazing respite program, and we, and it started out really great, but it slowly just started going downhill. And I kind of I ran it into the ground because I just was like, well, no, everyone does respite. But I had to finally realize it doesn't work for my area, for where we are. Our families, Orange County is a very interesting place to live. And they don't want to drive to church to drop their child off, to go somewhere to do something, and then have to drive back to pick their kid up to go home. They just want to leave their house and leave their child there and come back, because the rest of it is too much work for them. And so they, it didn't work. And I was like, what do you mean? I'm creating this environment where your children are doing these amazing things. And so whenever I speak to other people and I tell them we don't have a respite program, they're like, oh, what do you mean you don't have respite? And the reality was it didn't work for our church. And some of the most, the things that we do all the time in disability ministry may not work for your church. Everyone may do, something specific, whatever it is, and it may not work for you. And it's okay to try it and realize that it wasn't meant to be. And I've thought about trying it again, making it the phoenix and bringing it back from the ashes. Families don't care about it. They don't, and they don't want it. And so I had to realize that my agendas were not my family's needs. And so it was a failure, but it was, I learned from it.
Yeah. And one thing I'd challenge every leader that's out there, whenever you're trying to do ministry or think through things or events, it's what I've held my team to all the time: plan things through the eyes of a parent with a child with disability. See if you would do it if you were them. And you'd be amazed how that changes your outlook, your mindset on would you do it or not. Is it worth, it's, again, we're in the Midwest. Is it worth on a school night bundling up your kids, trying to get them put together to go out on a Thursday night for an hour-long event, only to then bundle them back up and try to take them home? No, it's not. It's too much work. I'm not going to go. It may have been a fantastic event, but you got to think through that, because just moving, that transitioning for a family with disabilities, that's not an easy process either. So I want to make sure we've got time to hit your last point there, and that was have fun, one of the most important ones there. So let's dive into that, the have fun.
Some of the things have fun is celebrate the small victories. I think so often we only celebrate the large ones, and it's not that we can't, but celebrate the small victories, the little tiny things, whatever it may be, that one family you haven't seen showed up, that you were able to engage that one kid in, a special toy, whatever it is, but to celebrate those small things. The other thing is create a family atmosphere. I recently have stepped away from my position of overseeing this one campus, and now I oversee all of them. And those families that I was entrusted into for 13 years, they're my family. And so I still reach out and how are you doing and what's going on? And I know those who are nurses and doctors in the field, and what's going on, and making sure they're being safe, and really create a family atmosphere. I think a lot of us, not all of us, but a lot of us who do disability ministry usually have a child possibly with disabilities. And so we can relate, and some of us can't, and that's totally, you're just as usable. But being able to walk in their shoes, walk with them, have fun with them. One of the other things I always say is remember to laugh even when you want to cry. Being able to laugh. I have been so fortunate to have a team of volunteers that I can just belly laugh with. And, and even when things are horrible going on, just be able to laugh together. It truly said laughter is the best medicine, and it's so true. If we can't laugh at where our world is right now, holy moly, we're in trouble. And so there are times that, I posted recently on Instagram that I said, one of the pluses of having to wear a mask is I can talk to myself in the grocery store and nobody knows. Mask on, and no one can see that I'm and they're positive things. I'm helping others, but at the same time I can talk to myself or sing, and no one knows if I'm doing it quietly. And so doing those. The other thing is go back to that dreaming big, just dream big and have that. But lastly is enjoy the ministry God's entrusted to you. If you are doing ministry right now and it's a burden and it's difficult, I hate to say it, but stop. And maybe God is calling you out. We just had a staff meeting just recently, and our pastor, Rick Warren, said, maybe some of you need to be repotted. And I think that's such a what? Are you telling me I'm gonna lose my job? And no one's losing our jobs at our work. But the reality is maybe God's calling you to be planted somewhere else. Probably about 8 months ago, I was driving to work, a typical weekend, and just driving to work like normal. And out of my mouth, I said, I think I'm done. And I remember stopping and said, wait, what? What do you mean? what are you talking about, God? And it just came out of my mouth. And the more that I stopped, I realized that I was done with what I had been doing. I was done with my job. And it was the scariest thought that ever came out. But I thought, oh, good Lord, are you saying that I need to leave my position? And not but 3 days later, one of my my big bosses pulled me in, and she said, I think it's time we change your job. You've done this for too long, and you could do it in your sleep. You need to do it. And I cried. I just sat and I cried, and I said, I just had this talk with God. And so sometimes, as much as it's be scary, look at, are you where God wants you to be? And sometimes you may think, oh no, I can do this. And you know what, if kids with disabilities can do it, I can do it. It doesn't mean that that's where you're supposed to be. And so make sure you're enjoying it. I can say now with this new position, I love my job again. I was not loving it for a while. And so make sure that you're loving what you're doing, because we're not called to a world where we hate what we do. We're called to love what we do. And so make sure that that you're enjoying what you're doing, as much as hopefully some of you aren't like, oh crud, now she's like maybe challenge me on something. But
yeah, no, those are fantastic. And you know, I'll kind of piggyback on your last one there, enjoying the ministry God's entrusted you to. You know, it's, if we are truly doing what God's calling us to and love it, we're going to become passionate about that. And when we're passionate about what we're doing, oh my gosh, it's so much easier to do and so much more fun to do when you're passionate about it. But just because you've been, in your case in point's perfect, you've been passionate about what you did for years. And it's not that your passion changed, it's just you need to do something. Guess what? You're still doing disability ministry. It's just a little different, and you're now passionate about that. So God can still change your passion. It just may be changing your lane, and it's finding the right seat on the bus for you. It's the same thing we need to do with our volunteers. You know, when you talked about creating a family and atmosphere, that's not just with our families, it's also with our volunteers. And that's vital. That's one thing that we forget a lot of times. And you said how you'll belly laugh with your volunteers. I love that. I do the same. But it's talking with them, finding out, hey, how was your vacation? Oh my gosh, you know, your child was in the hospital. Is everything going well now? You know, take a meal to them, whatever it might be. But you know, really caring and having those conversations. We would meet before the service with our buddies, and we would do it. I would do like a 30-second devotional, but then I would take everyone's prayer requests. And then I would just pray over everybody and then remind them why we're doing what we're doing, to send them off and you know, kind of have fun and laugh about that. But what was cool with that was creating that family atmosphere for our volunteers. We knew one another, because most of the time, otherwise, you know, and especially as the church grows, otherwise they may just be in their room. They may never see another, you know, volunteer in your ministry and not really know. So it's finding those ways to work through it. So those are huge.
We do something similar also. We call it pregame. And so we meet 30 minutes before service. So every service, because we have 4 of them, we meet 30 minutes beforehand. And I always like it to going into battle. And I know that sounds so silly, but I mean, sometimes I have scars to prove it's been battle. And
Amen.
all of us have had it. And so sometimes to get together and pray together as a team before you go in, we do the same thing. You know, let them know if there's anything specifically going on, if there's any prayer, catching up, you know, what are we doing for the weekend? But praying together, like, you know, coming together as a team to pray before you go into service is the best thing. And you can see the people that didn't make pregame and the people that made pregame are totally day and night different people and how they serve and how they're connected to your ministry. And so I can't, if people aren't doing that, I so wholeheartedly recommend every single service that you, before you go into, meet together as a team.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's a must with that. Truly is. And then, you know, the other thing that's important there is that's also before you send them on their way, you recast your vision. Why are you doing what you're doing? Because you may have a battle that day. They may go up, they may get bit, they may get scratched, they may get hit or hair pulled. It happens. And I've had the bites that break skin, and we all are. And instead of them sitting there going, oh my gosh, I'm done, they can then go, all right, I'm here to share Jesus with them and their family and reminded about that. And instead we can go, hey, congratulations, you're now a member of the bike club. And we can celebrate that instead of making it a negative thing. So those are different ways, we can have fun, turn the negative things that happen into positive things and find ways to work around that. But absolutely, we need to continue to dream big, keep the team involved with that as well. And I think the laughing is a huge thing. I love that, even when you want to cry, because that happens so hard, but so many times. But you said it, laughter is the best medicine, and it really is. And it's okay to laugh. It's okay to have fun in ministry. And let me tell you right now, if you're not having fun in your ministry, if it's not a fun atmosphere, you need to take a step back and reevaluate and see what you're doing. Because here's the other thing that happens. When you've got a ministry that's having fun, that's enjoying what you're doing, guess what happens? Volunteers come to you because they're like, holy cow, I want to be a part of that. I want to be in that family. I want to enjoy that. Because anyone can be in a ministry that's stuffy, that's not doing anything, not caring for one another, not becoming a family. But when you can set your ministry apart and make it different and make it something that people want to come to, that's a win. And that's how you can get people.
Yeah.
All right. Well, amazing job with everything here today. One thing, a lot of different things coming up. I want to remind our everyone listening, we've got our Wonderfully Made conference coming up. It's going to be October the 19th through the 23rd. And the great news this year, it's all virtual. So you can watch it from your own home. You can watch it in your PJs. It's fine. But we've got over 65 speakers from all over the United States and Canada coming for it. We've got a track for families, and we've got a track for ministry. Ministry leaders, get your families to this. Every family needs to be in it. We've got all kinds of great information. Ministry leaders, you need to be there. You need to get your team there. On top of it, we've got a VIP section that has some special talks that aren't going to be available otherwise. Plus, that allows you access to every single talk we have for an entire year. But some of our special VIP talks will include one from Dr. Virginia Isabel, which is going to be on race, culture, faith, and the pandemic. I can't wait to hear that one. But the only way you can hear that is through the VIP track. But sign up now, and I'll give you the early bird special. It's 20% off. It's WM, as in Wonderfully Made, early 20, WM early 20. That'll take 20% off. Go to wonderfullymadekc.com to sign up. You don't want to miss it. That early bird special just lasts through the end of this month, so through Monday on that. But please be a part of that. We will not have a Talk with Doc next week because of Labor Day weekend, so we're going to come back in 2 weeks, and we're going to have another talk that's going to be huge for especially our churches and disability ministry leaders. Tiffany Crow is going to be joining me, and we are going to be talking on reopening your ministry and being ready to handle behavior. So our kids have been out of sort, routines are gone, we've got ministries different. How are we going to handle behavior? So Tiffany is a behavior analyst. She's great background. She's run ministries. She's going to come in, and we're going to talk about managing behavior after reopening. So that'll be great. Make sure you join us. That'll be September the 11th when that one airs. But Amy, I want to thank you. We're coming to the top of the hour here. Let me just kick back to you. Any last words, last things to say on just what can we do to have fun and everything? You've shared so many great points already with us.
I think if I'd be remiss to not talk about having fun in these times. For some of us, we're going to be home longer than we'd expected. Us at Saddleback, being a larger church, we're going to be home for quite a bit longer. California is definitely in the midst. I would reach out to your families. I know, Heather, you had talked about the gaps that we're seeing. I'm finding the best things to do is to reach out to our families. When I had my old position, about every couple of weeks, I would just call our families and see how they're doing. And I had so much fun doing that, just calling our families and connecting and seeing how they're doing. They usually shared their desires, but I think I have the most fun when I'm serving God's people. And so instead of, I think when we weren't in this pandemic, we were working more on our programs and less on our people, and we did people when we had the programs. I think it's definitely shifted where we're working more on the people now and less on the programs, because programs can happen. And gosh, what were we thinking when we were working so much time on those programs? And so it's been such a shift for me to really see that we need to spend more time on the people, and the programs happen when we're with the people. And so that to me has been such an eye-opener of and I've actually enjoyed ministry more by being with the people and worrying less about the things we're doing.
Oh, absolutely. No question there. I agree with you completely. I think, COVID has taught us so many things, but one of the greatest things that's happened because of COVID is exactly what you said. It's shifted the focus on our people. Now all of a sudden we're reaching more people than we ever did before because we shifted to being virtual and having things online. What I want to encourage everybody listening, just because some churches are coming back, and I know a lot of you out in California, you're not coming back anytime soon yet. But those churches that are coming back, don't stop doing the virtual. Don't stop doing the online for your families, because there's many families that just are not going to be able to come back. There are families that we found out who never could come to church because of the situations in their household. So they're now loving it. They're learning and seeing this. We need to continue to minister to them. And actually, we're going to have a whole talk on this coming up the first Friday in October, where we'll talk a whole lot more just on how we can do ministry in the whole new way of doing ministry now post-COVID. But absolutely great points there. But again, have fun, smile, cry, laugh, and just enjoy yourself. Take time for yourself, and again, I'll just hit them all again. Play hard, play together, play smart, and have fun. If we can learn how to do that as a ministry leader, oh my gosh, we can take our ministry and do so many great things, reach so many people, and just do amazing things. But it all starts with us being willing to give of ourselves, but yet protect ourselves, be willing to say no, and have fun, enjoy what we're doing, and let others see that with it. So want to encourage people. We'll be putting up our registration for the next one. If you want to continue to partner with SOAR and help these Talk with Docs continue, encourage you to partner with us. You can do that financially as well by going to soarspecialneeds.org/donate and can partner financially on that. But Amy, thank you so much, my friend. Love seeing you. I wish we could be together. I miss seeing you so much, my friend. But I've enjoyed it. We could have talked another hour or two.
Thanks for having me, Doc. It was fun.
All right. Well, I hope you have a blessed day, and we'll see everyone next time. See you guys.